Hey Vikings fans, Tyler here to talk to you about Pick and Shovelware and pickandshovelware.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, all kinds of fun, different Minnesota sports clothing items and apparel options. We got a deal going with them right now where if you buy whatever you want, enter the promo code Bleeding Purple, all one word, and you will get free shipping. That is promo code Bleeding Purple, pickandshovelware.com. Make sure you go ahead and check it out. Okay, let's start the show.
Bleeding Purple Podcast.
Welcome to Minnesota! Woo!
Straight cash, homie. 48-4 jersey down.
Adrian Peterson is loose! Oh my heavens! Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Why do you even ponder passing? Let's go to work, huh? Let's go to work! How do you like that? 5 shot 3, 1, 2, 3, fire!
Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in to Bleeding Purple, a podcast about the Minnesota Vikings. My name is Tyler Haig, and I am joined, as always, by Mr. Adam Patrick. What up?
It's good to be back.
Good to be back. You know, I was thinking about this earlier today, kind of having withdrawals. I was been, talking to random people about the Vikings for much longer than I should, you know, from, a casual conversation standpoint. I feel like the people at my grocery store are starting to get frustrated with me because
Did you get stuck in the snow last week?
You know, I was trying really hard to not bring up the weather with you today, and we made it almost a minute and a half before we got there. Yes, you know, I did. That was why we didn't. That was a huge part of why we didn't do
a lot of people were stuck
an
out there
episode
last
week. Yeah, I was usually I get done working at around 4:30, and I can get back here around the 5 o'clock-ish area, and I was still on the road at 6:15, and we normally begin recording at 6:30 most days, so it was not happening. And today we are expecting several inches again, Adam, out here tonight, so it's just going to be a blast to drive to work tomorrow.
Hey, you're used to it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's no big deal for us. This is what separates us from the rest of the country. What's it like there?
But you get seasons, so you know.
It's
good.
true. What is your current winter season up there
It's a brisk 60 today.
Oof.
So
that's terrible.
partly cloudy. I think there's a couple clouds in the sky today. But you know, we're making it through.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it must be tough. But
It has rained a bunch.
Okay.
But it doesn't rain that long.
No, not for and it doesn't rain where it stays outside.
No, I've been out here long enough now where I definitely get colder when it's 50s and 60s.
You know, and I'll say this. It's easy for me as a Minnesotan to give a bunch of guff about not being able to deal with the cold, but it's true. You go from 70 degrees, the first time it cracks down to 50, you're cold. I don't care if you're from Minnesota, if you're from San Diego, it's cold when you're used to 70s. I
had my in-laws out here last week, and they're from upstate New York. It snows just as much there as it does in Minnesota, and they were cold.
Yeah, I mean, it's cold.
Cold is cold.
Yeah, man. When every room you walk into is set above 65 degrees and you walk outside and it's below 50, that feels cold. It doesn't matter who you are. That's just how it is. Yeah, here it's a little bit different because sometimes it gets 40 below zero, so that can suck sometimes. That was last week as well.
There's an NFL guy named Dave Damashek who always talks about how the Vikings are, you know, missing an opportunity because they have a dome stadium. They should have a open air stadium to get that advantage.
I understand why people think that, but I'd never go to the games. I would never go.
It's cold for everybody.
I would never go. I would watch.
It's not like the Vikings. It's not like the Vikings practice outside during the winter.
I think, the problem with the home field advantage for the cold is that both teams have to play in it, and it sucks for everybody. And when you're in the NFL, the majority of your guys ain't from Minnesota.
Yeah, maybe in the 70s.
Florida, yes, maybe in the 70s.
Half the players are from Canada and Minnesota.
Exactly. Half your roster is made up of upper Midwesterners.
Yeah, but now it's
ain't the case now.
Florida kids and California kids.
Yeah.
They don't want them. And
Texas kids.
Attracts free agents, too. You don't want to go to play in Minnesota when it's open air.
No. It's freezing cold all the time.
Especially if
Look
you're
at how
a
well the
kicker.
Timberwolves have done as far as their free agent
Well,
stuff is
they
concerned.
play indoors.
Well, yeah, but
maybe-
it's cold here when you got to go
maybe they
back and
should
forth.
do.
That's even
Maybe they should do open air.
Yeah, there you go. That's an advantage I could get behind.
Yeah.
Basketball outside in the winter. I mean,
They have the Winter Classic or whatever. They can do that for basketball too, right?
dude, don't bring that up. People are frustrated that we have not had a winter classic here, like the hockey stuff outdoors. Yeah, people are mad. Or we,
Yeah,
I think they
yes,
gave
there
us.
was, wasn't it?
No, they gave the not
Was it,
the,
was it in the Twin Stadium?
no the non-winter classic. They did the like.
Oh, just
yeah,
random.
you guys get one too,
The
but it
random.
wasn't the winter classic.
Yeah.
And people, I mean, we're the state of hockey, so people are pretty frustrated about it.
Oh, what are we, 10 minutes into the podcast? We haven't talked about the Vikings yet?
5.5. It's a pretty good stretch so far, I think. Yes, let's talk about the Vikings. Like I said, I've been having withdrawals. I need to like get some of this out of my system. The most recent news, I guess news is a very strong term for what we're about to talk about.
It's the off season.
Today on the good point. Today on the NFL Network, wasn't it on the NFL Network?
What? It wasn't today, but recently.
Recently, Terrell Davis said that the Vikings should look to bring back Adrian Peterson. Before he says this, I think it was LaDainian Tomlinson said that he should maybe look at going to Detroit. That move makes some sense to me. I'll bring it up to you just as a wide open question. Do you think the Vikings should have any interest in Adrian Peterson returning to their
No,
squad?
absolutely not. One,
Yeah, I
they
mean,
have Dalvin. They have
what else do
Dalvin
you need
Cook.
to say, man? Like,
We know that Adrian Peterson cannot be a backup. He's never been a backup. The one time a team tried to make him a backup in New Orleans, he lasted 4 games.
and was yelling at the coach in the first
Yeah,
game.
he was glaring at the coach, getting on people's nerves because he wasn't getting the ball enough.
Yes.
He barely got over 1,000 yards last year. I know it's, he was reborn or whatever, and 33-year-old running back. But he was pretty much only option for the Redskins on offense last year.
And yeah, Mark Sanchez was their quarterback for him.
Yeah, Josh Johnson. So the 2 previous years, I think he combined for like 600 rushing yards.
Can't pass block.
No,
Can't
can't
catch the ball out of the
catch out
backfield very
well.
well.
Don't ask him that because he'll be like, "Look, I caught 1 pass a game out of the backfield last year." If he was willing, we've talked about this a lot in the past. If he was willing to be a number 2 guy, like a short yardage situation guy, then yeah.
He could help
But
the
he-
team.
But he's not.
He's not.
His ego is way, way too big to do that, and he's gonna want to go somewhere where he can either be or challenge for the number 1 spot. Which I don't even think Detroit is a good option because they have Kerryon Johnson. I would look at, if you were going NFC North, I would look at the Bears as maybe a possible spot for him, or maybe even the Packers. But I think their new coach or whatever is looking probably for guys that are able to catch out of the backfield too, because he's in the Sean McVay mold or whatever.
Yeah, man.
But no, he's not coming back to Minnesota. it's the off season, something to talk about. It's a nice story. I like Terrell Davis. I liked him as a player. He's a guy. He's got to create some views too. I don't blame him. It's part of his job.
It is.
The only way I could see Adrian Peterson coming back to Minnesota is to sign a 1-day contract to retire. That's it.
I honestly, I hope they don't do that. Like,
Yeah, just the way that he left and stuff.
yeah, man. And the kind of player that he was at the end there. So, like,
They'll do that though.
You can, they will. You can
It'll be
make
long.
an argument from a statistical basis. You can make an argument that he would fit what the Vikings are going to be looking for if Latavius Murray, if Tay Train leaves. That is statistically somebody who would fit. But you're leaving out the most important part of Adrian Peterson, and that's Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
It's his brain. It's his ego. The guy rode into his birthday party on a camel. The guy, like,
Wants to play 5 more years.
Totally did the switch thing, and then like a year later admits publicly that he's still doing the same thing. He was arrested for that, Adam. He's delusional. If that production was all you were going to get, and you could promise me that you were going to get a quiet, different person, but it's Adrian, but you cannot promise me that, because that's not the kind of Adrian Peterson is. He's never been that kind of a guy.
Yeah.
And what would lead us to believe that he was going to come in here and take a back seat and not be frustrated?
Yeah. He might actually end up being more expensive than Latavius Murray, because I think Murray's, I was looking the other day, like his market value is like an average salary of like $1.3 million a year. So Latavius Murray wouldn't be that expensive to retain, and he's one of like the best running backs available on free agency this year. It's pretty scarce out there. Besides Le'Veon Bell, but that's not going to happen.
Well, yeah, that's we don't even need to discuss that. But that's in that as I think Latavius Murray is better at every single thing you need to do, or that what the Vikings are looking for. Yeah. Murray checks more of those boxes than Adrian Peterson. I don't even think it's close. I think he's like way better at everything that they would need.
You have Mike Boone, you have Rock Thomas. Like, those guys are better options, not because they're better players than Adrian Peterson, but just because they have the potential to, evolve and do what you want them to do, not necessarily be like an MVP running back or anything like that. They go in there, they do what you need them to do, they block, they catch out of the backfield, they get, scrappy yards.
Yeah.
They just do that. The Vikings, Dalvin Cook, he's shown that he's probably best when he's a 3-down running back. Mm-hmm. So there's no room for Adrian Peterson to even be there, because he's just going to sit on the sideline and sulk.
Yes,
and Mike Zimmer is going to go to the press and be like, well, he can suck it up. But yeah,
that was good. That was going to be my next point, was where do you use in Adrian Peterson? Because it can't be on 3rd down, which would be the normal place you would use him. You would spell Dalvin Cook on 3rd down. You can't have him in because he's not able to do the things you need him to do on 3rd down. So then what are you talking about? You're talking about a 2nd quarter, 3rd quarter, like spelling Dalvin Cook for a drive or two. Like, we don't need that.
And the offense,
especially not with that kind of
the offense history that they're going to run next year is predicated more on zone blocking, and like that requires your running backs to have patience and like let their holes open up and stuff. And Adrian Peterson has never been a guy to just hold on and wait for a hole to open up. He's
up your back if you're
he just goes straight into the offensive line.
Prefers to line up 12 yards behind you so that he can be running full.
So he doesn't even fit what they're going to run next year. So he's not even. Fans loved it. They'd love to be like, oh, he'll come back. Great story. Can win the Super Bowl. But yeah, I don't think it would be a great story either.
No,
because
I think it's a bad story. I think there's just, to me, it's insane.
More the casual fan. It's like used to seeing him in a Vikings uniform. And
it just makes, from a football standpoint, it makes absolutely no sense for them.
I thought it was funny that it came out because it was like a day after I said that I wrote something that said like published something that said like 5 free agents that the Vikings should avoid this year, and he was one of them.
One of them, yeah. You nailed it. I think you're totally right. It is. Yeah, man.
He is in talks with the Redskins already, so that's good.
Yes, this is not the spot for him.
They deserve each other, They can give him way too much money, and then he can get a season-ending injury 4 games into the season and take all their money.
They're the perfect marriage. They are the perfect combination. I think you nailed it. They deserve each other.
They deserve each other.
I think so. Moving on. Other news that kind of, I don't know if it came out today. I think it did. Kyler Murray decided he's going to play football instead of baseball. We think.
That's what he says.
That's what he says.
For now.
For now. Is it possible he's saying this to get more money from the baseball teams?
It's possible.
It's very possible. Is it possible
or even
that
more
he's
money,
doing this because
more money from the football teams?
Yeah. Or is it possible he's doing this because he thinks he could actually be like a top 5 draft pick and make a buttload of money? Do you think he's like top 5? Before we talk about whether or not the Vikings should be interested in him, let's discuss Kyler Murray in general. He started 1 year, that's all, in college. He's 5'10-ish.
Yeah, he
He's not a big dude. Very mobile.
Yeah. I don't like to talk about height and stuff for quarterbacks because there's Russell Wilson and Baker Mayfield, but Kyler Murray's pretty small.
Yes. Here's what makes me laugh.
He doesn't look 5'10", and he doesn't look like he weighs over 200 pounds.
He looks like he's about 5'8", $190, probably.
Yeah, dripping
which
wet.
is he's going to put weight on once he gets into the NFL. We get that. They always do. But I hear comparisons are like, well, Russell Wilson, Drew Brees is really good. It's like you're talking about all pro caliber players, and both of those guys are a couple inches taller than Kyler Murray is. He's got an incredible arm. We know that.
Yeah. You look at a guy, he's probably closer to maybe a Doug Flutie.
Yeah. That comparison makes more sense. Mobile, small. You're going to have to do things differently if you want him to be successful in your offense.
He would have to jump in the air to see over the line.
Oh, my God. I used to love watching Doug Flutie play.
Flutie Flakes.
Do you think that the Vikings should have any interest in drafting Kyler Murray? And then as kind of a sub-question, do you think that they should have interest in drafting a quarterback in general this year, I guess? Let's say earlier rounds. Because we could talk separately about whether or not they should take a quarterback in the later rounds. Because I think we both are of the mind, you should always take a quarterback. Because Russell Wilson was a 4th-round pick or whatever. And, I mean, Tom Brady was a 6th-round. Not that you're going to get that, but it's a lottery ticket. You should grab one every year, in my opinion. Do you think the Vikings should be interested in Kyler Murray?
I'm going to go with absolutely not. No way. Zero chance.
I almost spent my coffee on the
Kirk Cousins is
microphone.
Their quarterback for 2 more years, whether they like it or not, unless he gets some sort of bad injury. Hopefully not. It is Minnesota. You never know.
Knock on wood. That's true. We have to acknowledge that is a possibility.
But no. Kyler Murray's probably committing to football because he was probably told by someone that he'll most likely be able to play as a rookie in the NFL next year.
Yes.
Or whoever he's drafted by.
100%.
He's not going to want to go to a team, or he likely has to sit for 2 years, which is probably what's going to happen if he's drafted by Minnesota.
Yeah.
Which could discourage him, and then he can be like, see ya, peace, I'm going to baseball. Mm-hmm. Also, what kind of message are you sending to Kirk Cousins if you draft him or any other quarterback in the first round? Like, you invested all this money in Kirk Cousins, and then after a year, you're like, we're going to see what else is out there. I don't mind the Vikings going after a quarterback with their last couple of picks in the draft, but they also have a lot more important needs than drafting someone who's probably going to sit on the bench for 2 more years. Pretty much every other position on the roster besides quarterback.
I was going to say, if you were making a list of the least needs and the most need, quarterback is in the least, and it's very close to the least needed on the team. It might be the least need.
They should draft a kicker before they draft a quarterback. Honestly.
Whoa, bud. That's a great point, though. You're right, though. You're right. Man. I think in addition to all of those things, what does it say about where you think about Kirk Cousins? To me, it's the fan base, dude. Yeah. You draft a quarterback in the first round, and it's Teddy Chance the minute he, obviously not going to be Teddy Bridgewater, but there's going to be Kyler Murray chance the minute Cousins throws an incomplete pass. And do you think you're going to be able to be successful? Do you think you're going to possibly win a Super Bowl, which, after all, is the goal here?
Yeah,
if is your quarterback's situation with that guy breathing down his neck, I don't think so. I don't think it's a good call.
Kirk Cousins has shown to do well, under pressure. He's shown that he, his confidence has trouble getting rocked at times. Mm-hmm. Not really. I don't think it'd be a good idea. I know people are like, oh, he's an athlete or professional football player. He should be able to just step it up and blah, blah, blah. But these guys are fragile too. You gotta step around, the cracks or whatever. And
man. Well, it's
especially quarterbacks. That's a lot of mental goes into that. If you're not confident on the field, that's going to mess up your whole game or whatever.
100%. You can count on one hand the number of guys that excel in situations where people are not thinking they're going to do well. Nick Foles comes to mind as one of them. The minute he seems to grab a job, he doesn't play well.
Yeah.
Who's
Or look
the
at, like, a guy like
Fitzpatrick
Matt-
is another one.
Yeah. A guy like Matt Schaub back in the day when he
Yeah,
was throwing all
yes.
those pick sixes.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
he just couldn't help it. Like,
Totally.
he just kept throwing pick sixes. And it was like a year or two after he, like, threw for 30 touchdowns.
Yeah, man. And that, after seeing what we saw from Kirk Cousins and this football team, to do something like that to your quarterback just feels like sabotaging the season to me. It just, you're not giving him the best chance. And I understand that there's a thought of this is going to be best for the franchise in the long term, but that is, you're totally blowing up your season.
People will give the argument, we're like, oh, well, in the first round, you should probably just draft best player available, whatever. But he's not the best player available for the Vikings. Like,
No.
he might be the best player available for whoever else,
Yes. Well, and you
but
just,
not the Vikings.
I think the people who think that they should take Kyler Murray are the same people who wanted the Vikings to draft Aaron Rodgers the year that Aaron Rodgers was drafted. Because there was, like, you can look back on that and be like, man, it would have been nice for the Vikings to not pass on him twice. But they had Dante Culpepper coming off of an MVP season. There's no reason for you to take him in that position. I think they made the right move. I think they wound up. That wasn't Demetrius Underwood that year, was it? Who did they take that year? Or
Aaron
Troy
Rodgers? No,
Williamson
that-
or something.
Aaron Rodgers was like 05, 06.
It was a bad pick, I'm sure, that the Vikings had those years. I don't know who it was, but I'm
Yeah,
sure
those were kind of lost years.
And like, it's whatever, but you still, to this, like, if they had to do it again, I would hope again that they would not draft.
Yeah, if
that
you have
quarterback.
you
And I
already
think-
understand late round draft
Yeah.
some guy, maybe you can develop him. If he turns out well, then and who's to say Kyler Murray is even going to be good
Exactly.
in the NFL? That's like the thing. Like,
dude,
the grass is not always greener.
yes,
Kirk Cousins threw for 30 touchdowns last year, 4,000 yards. Like, we look at people probably were saying the same thing about Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston a couple years ago, and now look at them.
Exactly.
They're barely hanging on.
And it's a nice time to remind people and remind myself that this time of year, you watch guys go from literal unknown quarterbacks to, oh my God, they are the greatest football player. They might be the best quarterback prospect we've seen in years. And every year it's the same talk. And
now
every year it's not the same results.
Now they're playing in the Alliance for the American Football League.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, San Diego, did you go? Oh, no, they were playing in San Antonio, so just
It
kidding.
was in San Antonio. No, it's here. I think it's here Saturday or Sunday or whatever.
Are you going to go? Are you excited?
really.
San
There's
Diego
a-
Fleet, dude,
that-
get
there's a-
into it.
That's a garbage stadium.
Oh, is that
Yeah,
the one that the Chargers used to play?
Yeah, that's
It's
why they
still
left.
that one. Is that why they left? Because they couldn't get a new one of those?
Yeah.
It is. What did you think? Well, first of all, did you watch much of it, any of it?
I
How much
watched-
did you catch?
Portions. Like, I think I watched like the first half of the Fleet game on Saturday.
Yep.
And then I watched a little bit of the games on Sunday. I think it was like Birmingham and Memphis. But no, I think it's good. Like, some of the new rules that they have, no extra points and no kickoffs.
Yeah,
Like,
what do you think about taking the kicker out of the game, basically?
I don't mind that at
I
all.
don't have a problem with it either. It doesn't bother me. And here's the other thing. I was watching, and I was like, oh, like, change of possession. I'm going to go have a cigarette. And the game was still going. There was
Yeah,
no time
'cause
for
they-
cigarettes,
yeah, they-
Adam,
they
because it was
don't-
just bing, bang, boom. There was
they don't
no
have,
commercial breaks.
They have less TV timeouts. I believe the game on Saturday took like 2.5 hours.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, NFL games usually take like 3 to 3.5 hours. And then the replay stuff they have, where you can listen in to like the guy up in the booth who's making the call or whatever.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
I thought, to me, that was the coolest part of the whole thing was
That they actually
mic
have that.
access that you have. Yeah, is like really cool, I thought. Because you, at one point in the San Diego game, you heard Mike Martz say to his guy, like, I'm thinking about changing quarterbacks. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Oh.
incredible access to get, like, that's
he did.
awesome to hear. Yeah,
that guy
and he did.
got rocked by
Yeah.
a former Vikings linebacker.
How did he not see him? He was right there the whole time, and then just hit him, and it was like he never.
Got to feel the pocket. That's
man.
why he's getting those reps. But I mean,
That's
he's not gonna get those reps anymore because I think he's already been benched.
Yeah, and that coincidentally, quarterback who came in for him, former Gopher, and
really?
Mankato, Minnesota is his hometown. That Philip Nelson kid. He's been
there's a
through lot,
couple-
that guy.
There's a couple former Vikings out there. There's Matt Asiata. You know, he had a 1-yard touchdown.
God, it made me
yesterday.
so happy that it was only 1 yard. I was so happy.
Charles Johnson's out there. Like Nick Truesdell or whatever, the tight end. I think there's a long snapper, a couple running backs. David Cobb, I think, is playing there.
Yep.
There's a couple former Vikings out there who had like a cup of coffee with the Vikings, but I think Matt Asiata and Charles Johnson are probably like the two most notable guys in there. I'm surprised Charles Johnson's in there, but he probably just wants to get some reps.
For sure. Do you think this league is like a viable long-term option? Not as competition to the NFL, but do you think this is the beginning of the like minor league system for the NFL, basically?
I think it's good because it has a chance because I feel like they're working with the NFL. Like their games are on NFL Network and stuff, and they're affiliated with NFL teams.
Tons of former NFL guys.
So I think that's, and the coaches and stuff, people know them. I think that's going to help. I do think they need to get maybe some more notable players if they're looking to draw more fans or whatever. You know, get a Tebow or get a Kaepernick or somebody in there who can draw. Explore, some of those guys that maybe don't even want to go to college. I don't know if that's an option to go from high school to this league, but maybe that's something they should look into.
Definitely. Who I think of for this league, like the perfect example, is Maurice Clarett. Because he couldn't play college football, but couldn't go to the NFL and was just stuck there, and it totally killed his career because he couldn't keep playing football. And this would have been perfect. Yeah,
involved
a lot of other stuff that he maybe shouldn't have done, but from a football perspective, that was pretty much the beginning of the end.
I remember all that.
Yeah, and I think if he would have had an option like a league of this nature to go and play and get some reps and stay, I don't want to say stay active, but just have people making sure you're doing what you're supposed to do. Because we have to remember these kids are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. A lot of them can use somebody to be like, you got to be here at this time every day.
I think it's good too for the guys that who spent time on NFL practice squads and they don't get those live in-game reps, and this is an opportunity for them to do that. And maybe they're not the greatest players in practice and stuff, but they get in the field in a game situation and they're much better.
Definitely.
So
because that happens. There are gamers. That's like a normal thing.
Case Keenum.
Yeah, man. Exactly. I watched him in practice and I was like, wow, why did they sign him? That was the Minneapolis Miracle year. Like that, it's crazy. But
did you see what he said? Did you see what he said in his book?
No, what did he say? Is it bad? Is it good?
I should have added this topic.
Yeah, you should.
He did kind of comment on how Mike Zimmer never named him the starter.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was it bummed him out and he was like, I felt like I deserved it.
Well, his agents apparently called Zimmer and Spielman asking hey, why haven't you named Keenum the starter? Mm-hmm. And the coach and Zimmer would ask him is it bothering you? And Keenum would just be his normal nice self and be no, it doesn't bother me. I just come to play every day, blah blah blah. But
football cliche.
Because he was coach. The team had so much chemistry and stuff, and
that's too bad that he. Part of what made that season so great was that it felt like everybody was on board. Everyone it felt like it didn't matter to him, and that's kind of a bummer that it actually was bothering him. And then we're finding out now that there were, other issues from not huge issues, but Barr has not been happy throughout the course of these seasons, and I mean, this team was presented as though they were best buds and 13-3, and we got something special here. No, wasn't even that special. They were just winning some games.
Football, everyone's got their own priorities.
Too many guys,
especially in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When guys can go out and get their big paydays.
Yeah, and I mean, Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about offensive line coach, new offensive line coach.
Yeah.
Rick Dennison. Is it Dennison?
I think so.
We discussed this right away when Kubiak was hired because we were not sure if this was a package deal. If it wasn't a package deal, who was going to be?
Clearly, yes.
Dennison's on board, and he is about as Kubiak a guy as has ever been. He was teammates with Kubiak for 7 seasons in Denver, and then has basically followed him everywhere he's gone as a coach. He's been special teams, offensive coordinator. He's pretty much done.
He was the offensive line coach for the Denver Broncos, like the early 2000s, when they had like all those random dudes rushing for 1,000 yards, like Reuben Jones and Mike Anderson, and not necessarily random, but Clinton Portis was there too.
Yeah, but
and then last year he was offensive line coach for the Jets, and I don't really know how good or bad like them doing had to do with him.
Yeah,
or maybe they have a rookie quarterback out in there, and it's the Jets, and he hasn't. I don't think he's done amazingly as an offensive coordinator. I think that's had to do more probably with Gary Kubiak, because I think he was the Bills' offensive coordinator 2 years ago, and it didn't go so well. But they did do well running the ball. So if Mike Zimmer wants his team to do better at running the ball, this is a good guy to have, in control of your offensive line. But I'm happy They got an offensive line coach. They've got one guy, don't have two people, in their players' ears, maybe saying two different things to these guys. He knows the system. He knows what Kubiak wants. He knows what probably is going to find out real fast what Zimmer wants. So I think it's a good hire. He's not offensive coordinator, so he's just doing the offensive line.
Yes, and this is the guy. What you want from your offense is continuity, and you bring in guys that know each other and they've worked together and they know what they're looking for. They know
they've been successful.
Exactly, they know what successful offensive line / running games look like, and they can pull this off. Are you concerned at all about? I'm starting to wonder if Stefanski is all of a sudden he was supposed to get this job. This is going to be his gig. Now he's okay, dude. This is you. And Kubiak, and now his whole squad is here, and it's Stefanski and the Kubiak squad. Do you think? Is there going to be some? Obviously everything we've heard about Stefanski is that he's a total team guy. He's made it through all these different head coaches, all these different coaching staffs. So he must be a team player. He must not have a ton of ego. But if you were in his position, would you kind of be wondering if maybe this is a replacement, or if you're not doing your job the way you're supposed to, they're just going to plug someone else in?
That's
always now got 3 offensive coordinator / head coach.
Yeah, that's always a possibility, though. I think Stefanski is a guy who's proven in the past that he's going to work hard and do whatever it takes. He's got a good relationship with Cousins. I don't think it's the worst idea in the world to bring all these guys in there, especially since Stefanski's never been an offensive coordinator before. He's never called plays before. So, just because Kubiak's there this year doesn't mean he'll be there next year. So it could just be a way to get him running stuff similar to what he runs, and then he can leave and let Stefanski do his thing. If Stefanski does well, he might be gone, and then the Vikings are going to be in need of an offensive coordinator who could then just be Gary Kubiak.
Exactly. And if you'll remember, this, arguably the most successful this offense has been in a really long time was when they had Pat Shurmur, former head coach, Sperano, former head coach, and
both offensive coordinators.
You get what I'm saying. Yeah, there was a lot of head coaching, offensive coordinators, former, and whatever.
I think Mike Zimmer likes to have a lot of different opinions in his not head coach, but assistant coach room. But he also wants everyone to be, on the same page.
Definitely.
This is what I want to do. You guys need to figure out how you can do this.
And it feels like now the Vikings are doing a good job of checking. They have a lot of experience. They have young guys who kind of could change things a little bit, tweak things to a more new.
Yeah, they have young guys at positions that aren't very vital, like wide receivers coach.
Yes. Guys who could help, but not necessarily destroy your offense. And then the guys who are kind of running the show are dudes who have proven that they know how to do this and that they can be successful. So it feels like if everybody does what they're supposed to do,
George
the
Edwards,
offense should be very good.
Great
and the
defense
should be very good. Definitely.
He's been the reason. He's the reason behind their success.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's no doubt in anyone's mind.
He's got lots
The
of head
defense
coaching
is-
interviews. It doesn't have
because
the
of
fact to do with anything other than that he's some
it
guy.
doesn't. No, he's just some guy. That has nothing to do with any of that. What else do we want to talk about? Offensive line. Wonderful transition here. Speaking of the offensive line, they're talking about moving a certain offensive lineman to a different certain spot.
Again,
Talking about moving Reef
and we're gonna do this again.
to
Worked
guard.
so well with Mike Remmers.
Again. And we just saw how well that worked. And
Let's try it again.
Let's try again. Do you think this move is happening because now we're starting to read that there are a lot of tackles, offensive tackles in the draft who are like possibly starting caliber that might be deep
fall,
in that angle? Do you think their plan is to move him, upgrades the guard, and you can find a guard if you need to? Guards are obviously easier to find than tackles, and then maybe we draft a tackle, maybe you get a tackle in the free agency. What do you think the motivation is for moving him to guard? Because I'm terrified about it. I don't think it's
I maybe they don't think he's either as quick as he used to be, or just because against the Bills last year when he was destroyed. Because that seems to be like the way to beat him is just to speed rush him and you'll get past him. Yeah, Khalil Mack.
It's easy.
Not that Khalil Mack's a great example to use because he's going to run by everybody.
He's a little bit better, yeah. Faster, but yeah.
But yeah, that might be it. Maybe they're not so sure about bringing back Nick Easton. Maybe they want to move Reef to right guard because they don't feel that great about Mike Remmers. Yeah, it's the off season. I think they're going to try. They might experiment it with maybe an OTAs and take it from there. I don't think it's anything too much to worry about right now. I don't think Reef is that bad of a tackle. Certainly, there aren't that many great available ones in free agency this year. Surprised they don't just pop up like hotcakes.
Exactly. And that gets me to that argument of, they got to go out and spend money on. It's like, that's not a great pool of talent that's available, and you're going to wind up overpaying just like you did the last time you thought you could just pay to fix this problem.
Very rarely do all-pro or above average tackles become available in free agency.
That's a better way to put it. Above average, barely.
I'm not so sure if I'm a fan of them wanting to make a rookie a starter immediately for the offensive line. It's the way the college game is just so different than the NFL, and I feel like Brian O'Neill, he did really well.
He did. I think that honestly is like hindering their decision-making process heading into this offseason because they lucked out and got a really decent player when they probably shouldn't have. And he should have been starting at all.
Yeah. At times, though, he did show that he's a rookie, did make some mistakes. And you want, there's no guarantee that he would be good at left tackle either. I don't know. I don't think they even really tried that last year. And so you either want maybe him or a rookie blocking Kirk Cousins' backside.
That scares me a lot.
And I think getting a new offense in there, a new offensive line coach, they should keep Reef, try and keep him at tackle. Mm-hmm. If everyone's like, no, he'd be better at guard, then fine. But
then go for it.
Experience on the offensive line, I always go with that rather than drafting someone new who's never been in the NFL before and is like, hey, here you go. You have to play Khalil Mack twice a year.
Yeah.
Oh,
you'll probably be fine, right, Rook?
Yeah.
No problem. Just line up and tackle. It'll be fine.
And it's not like at 18, it's not like there's like all these great offensive linemen that usually are around at 18.
Exactly.
It's usually, if you're going to get a really good offensive lineman who can start right away, it's probably within the first 5 or 7 picks of the draft.
I was just going to say that. Top 5, if not top 10 for sure. When you're getting offensive
unless your name's Matt Khalil.
Yeah, so you can pop in there and have them start for 10 years. That's a top 5, top 7 pick. I agree with you completely. You don't find those guys at 18. No, you do not. And do you want them to trade picks to move up? like you said before, there are a lot of needs to address on this team.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's a good move either.
Spielman's
'Cause I
not
think you're going to
one-
wind up reaching for that.
I think the Vikings only have like 6. Yeah, I think they have 8 because of compensatory picks. But
He's going to trade down and get more.
yeah,
He always
he's
does.
not. Yeah, he's not one to trade away picks.
Mm-hmm.
He's one to trade his picks to get more picks.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it, too, is like unfair
Sometimes
to
he
the player
likes to
then
creep.
that you wind up taking, because then you get like a Ponder situation where he never should have even sniffed the first round. And because they needed a quarterback, here's our guy. And then you get sucked into the, at the combine, he was, and now a lot of people are right
Although,
about how he's pretty. It's like,
After last year, when all those guards went in the first couple picks of the second round, I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings tried to trade into the back end of the first round or the early second round to avoid something like that happening, where they have their heart set on, if they don't go offensive line with their first pick, if they have their heart set on someone, they think that somebody else might take him.
I think that's what happened last year. Is I think they got to that pick and it was Mike Hughes or all these linemen we'd be reaching for,
And they're
we might
like,
be able to get him in the
they'll
next
be
round.
around.
Yeah, and then they weren't, and then they were in trouble. And
But they did
whatever.
get Brian O'Neill.
They did, and and all things considered, yeah, man, you can still. The problem, what we need to not do, in my opinion, is do the 4th, 5th, 6th round picks for your, because that's when you wind up with those project guys.
Yeah, what's the
And
difference
those-
between that
they'll
and
always
signing an
have to
undrafted?
start here.
Yeah, what's the difference between that and signing an undrafted offensive lineman? Not really that much.
Not really that much at all.
I mean,
When do you think
when was
they're
when was
going-
Pat Elflein drafted? Was he 3rd round?
Second round, I believe.
He
Or
was?
no, you're right. Third
round.
was because it was Dalvin Cook in
Yep.
the second
Yeah,
round, and then
So he's 3rd.
Yep.
So
Yep.
first 3 rounds, offensive lineman, good.
Mm-hmm.
After that,
Not
I think
so much.
TJ Clemmings was 4th round.
He was a 4th rounder. He always pops right into my head for like those guys. That to me, because like honest to God, that's what I think of when I think of Vikings like
Willie
recent
Beavers.
drafts. Yes, I feel I think about TJ Clemmings, Willie Beavers. I think of the Michael Pruitts. I think of those tight ends. They're
They
going to do
drafted a
that.
guy. Yeah, they drafted a guy last year in like the 6th round, and he
Yes, they're going to do it again, man.
made
And
the team.
I'm starting to get frustrated with it. I don't want
So,
another
it's-
tall basketball player.
Yeah.
Oh, but he's our tight end who catches passes. Ugh.
They also have new guys in there. They got Dennison in there, so maybe he'll be like, "Hey, if you want a different, you suck at drafting offensive linemen." Let's not
Let
do
me
the
tell
thing."
you what you should be looking for here, guys, because you're not doing this right. No, that's a great point, actually. And with the new offense, new offensive line, back to like full circle, the moving Reef to a guard, maybe that is a good decision because based on the offense that they're going to be running, they can already tell he's not going to have the legs to get out and do what they need him to do at a tackle. I don't know, but we do have to pump the brakes a little bit because this is a new offense. It is a new offensive line coach, a new blocking scheme. Players are going to look different. Players that we thought were good might not be as good in this system. Not that I'm
think they're
saying that
gonna-
O'Neill's not going to be as good or that Elfine's not going to be as good, but some of those middling players, might not.
Yeah, I think they have to go more stronger guys. Like, I feel like recently they've been drafting guys that are like, he's super athletic and he can run like a 4.7 40, and I'm like, cool, but he's
Tackle,
getting
man.
bull rushed into his own quarterback every time.
Yes.
Like,
No, there has to be a happy medium. I agree with you for
Yeah.
sure. And I think they are at the point now where either you're going to need an offensive line that all they're going to do is pull and move the pocket. Maybe that's a good thing for this team. But if that's not the plan, you got to start figuring out how to get some strength on your offensive line because that's what you're looking at is a 7-step drop ain't happening because they're just going to push the pocket back into your quarterback's lap, which we saw a fair amount of this past season. Unfortunately. Since the last time we talked at him, there's been a Super Bowl. Have you heard about this?
yeah.
Are you
Apparently it was boring.
Yeah, what? That was going to be my first question. What did you think of like the whole game? Did you think, God, this game sucks, it's boring?
No,
or were you
it was
like
competitive.
entertained?
It was close.
Yeah. That was where I was at. It was close enough for me to like still care if they were going to punt. I know they're punting a lot, but I still cared whether they were going to on this drive or not. And those are the bad games where you wind up not caring anymore if they're going to punt or not.
It wasn't. I didn't think it was ever boring. Halftime, boring. The game was. I didn't think it was boring, just because there were good plays that were made on defense.
Mm-hmm.
And Aaron Donald,
granted, there were no
monster.
There wasn't any pick sixes or any plays like that, but it was good defense.
Wasn't last year. It was 41-38.
Yeah, were you? I guess that's maybe. Were you surprised that it went that way? Because I think our predictions were in the 30s, or mine was. I don't know if you. I think you were high 20s.
I wasn't surprised because Bill Belichick was involved, and he had 2 weeks. 2 weeks to prepare.
I think we both said that as the last thing on the
last
episode.
We're we want the Rams to win, but
yes, I want them to be successful. I want the Rams to run all over the Patriots. I don't think it's going to happen because he had 2 weeks to prepare. That's what happened. How many points did they wind up scoring, Adam? The Rams?
13-3?
It was 3. They scored 3 points. They didn't score a touchdown. And by the way, everybody's hiring the new Sean McVay. Do you think in a couple of years, Sean McVay, if he can't win a Super Bowl, is going to start to dip in people's minds, or is he still just so crazy? I
think he's like a Sean. He's like a Sean Payton. I think he's like a Sean Payton kind of guy, where as long as his offense stays the way it is, he's always going to have a job.
Eventually, he'll get somebody to the promised land.
He's. Second year he's in the Super Bowl, so he's not doing that bad.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it because there's so much hype on him. But yeah, he's been doing this for 2 years, and one of them he's been in the Super Bowl. However,
he's 2 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
It's 33.
It's terrifying.
Yeah,
it's terrifying. Yeah. Do you think that? Contract-wise, that team was very much built to win now. Yeah. Do you think they're going to be contenders, or do you think because of the cap situation they're going to lose some of their guys, they're not going to be as good? I know they're all in, but it sure feels like they're here for a while, doesn't it?
Look at their division.
Dude, that's a great point.
Seahawks, 49ers, and Cardinals. Not like those teams could be better next year, but the Rams are still clearly the best team in that division.
I forgot to bring this up when we were talking about Kyler Murray, but speaking of the Arizona Cardinals, they have the first pick in the draft, do they not?
Oh yeah, what's his face wants him.
Yes, this is the hot conspiracy theory going around these days is that Kyler Murray decided he was going to be a football player because somebody in Arizona told him that they were going to take him number 1 and trade Rosen.
Somebody who happens to be the head coach.
Yeah, it just happens. It's not his title.
It's convenient.
Yeah. Do you think? Well, first of all, let's say this is actually true and this actually happens, and he does get taken number 1.
Wait, they're not re-signing Sam Bradford?
I don't,
No?
It's possible. And maybe they'll just have Bradford start.
$20 million guaranteed?
Yeah, and just let him work his way in as his knees deteriorate and turn to dust.
Yeah.
Matthew Collar today on the radio had the best Freudian slip ever. He called him Sad Bradford. I was like, that is perfect. I can't think of a better nickname for a player. It's amazing.
He's its own trading card or something.
Yes, it's amazing. What are those?
His bugged out eyes.
Yes, that's exactly Sad Bradford.
Yeah.
In that press conference, perfect.
Poor guy.
Yeah, poor guy, millionaire.
He stole millions of dollars.
And then also has a statue of himself outside of a stadium in Norman, Oklahoma.
We
talked about it before. Do you think if Rosen becomes available, do you think that is perhaps a move the Vikings should explore? Or for all of those same reasons, because you can't do that to Kirk Cousins. You still got him for 2 years.
Well, then you're getting into trading assets to acquire a quarterback. So then you have even less to work with than you did before.
And that, to me, is the thing that people are missing here, is that the reason you draft, or I shouldn't say the reason, but you get a young quarterback that's going to be really good so you can spend the money that you're not paying him because he's on his rookie deal elsewhere. If you're paying Kirk Cousins and you have a guy on his rookie contract, but he's got to sit for a couple of years, that point that reasoning evaporates a little bit, and it doesn't make as much sense. Okay. I just wanted to see how you felt about Rosen. He kind of seems like a smarmy turd. I don't think I'd want him to be a Viking.
The jury's still out on him.
Yeah, but I think he could be a good football player. I think that was a tough situation.
He's a cocky young kid.
He is. This is the kid. Wasn't he the kid at UCLA
Baker Mayfield?
Who had the hot tub in his dorm room freshman year?
Yeah,
wasn't that Rosen?
Didn't Baker Mayfield pose with a tiger with his shirt off next to a car? Didn't he
didn't you
go
do
up
that
to
for your senior
Hugh
pictures?
Jackson and just stare him down
Yeah.
last
I
year?
mean, yeah, he did some of the he
Yeah.
did those things. He also put a Oklahoma flag in the middle of the big
Yeah, he
O
also
at the Horseshoe in Ohio State.
He also grabbed an area of his body part after a game or during a game too
Yeah,
on the
during
sideline.
the game, he kind of pantomimed
Yeah,
a certain That
I think
was
Anthony Barr
honestly-
did that when Aaron Rodgers was walking off the field that one game where he had a hit.
Yes, he did. That is
Yeah,
that is a
Just a normal tackle.
normal tackle. Nothing.
Wouldn't that be great if Anthony Barr signed with the Packers?
Nothing crazy. Oof. No, because here's what happens in
And he kills
that
Packers.
reality. Yeah, then he destroys us as a defensive end for the next 10 years.
Well, I think they run
because,
a
hey, we
3-4
should have been
defense too,
using him.
so
That's what I'm
he would
saying.
actually
And then,
fit well.
yeah, and then he destroys us, and hey, this is how you should have been using me, and now I'm.
Yeah, that would be a
It's not-
nightmare.
Yeah, I don't want that at all. That sounds horrible.
Because Clay Matthews he's a free agent, so he's probably out of there. He's getting pretty old.
Dude, what a swap that would be.
But
Clay
that would be a
Matthews to the
nightmare.
Vikings and Bar.
That
Please,
would
God, let it not be
a
true.
nightmare.
So back to the big game. Belichick, meh. Patriots, meh.
Yeah,
you
why?
think-
How do they keep winning? I
It's
don't
horrible.
understand. I don't
I'm so
understand.
tired of it, and they're so good that, honest to God, I'm numb to it at this point. And I know that I should be appreciative of how awesome
Yeah.
this is, because my kids are going to be like, "What was it like to watch them play?" And I'm going to be like, "It's horrible. I hated it."
It's like
Ask
when
me
Michael
about Tiger
Jordan,
Woods. That was the same way. I hated
like-
watching Tiger
yeah,
Woods. All he did was
like-
win.
growing up watching Michael Jordan, and
Yes.
I hated the Bulls.
Me too.
I-
My favorite team was Seattle because, God, please just beat them.
You root for the Jazz, you know.
Yeah, man, whoever.
Anybody.
Yes, and that was where I was at. I was rooting for short John Stockton.
Yeah,
I don't
he's
like
good.
John Stockton, but I really
good,
don't
though.
want the Bulls to win again. Yeah, I actually don't mind him play. Have you watched this kid play? He's fun to watch
Yeah.
him. Anyways, do you think the Vikings can win the Super Bowl next year? Is this still a possibility? Is the window still open?
Yeah, Mike Zimmer's still the head coach. They're still going to have a great defense. Kirk Cousins is still a good quarterback to have there. They still have Stephon Diggs. Still have Adam Thielen. Still have Dalvin Cook. They still have a lot of people. Still have Xavier Rhodes. You know, might trade him.
Hendricks, Harrison Smith. Yeah, Xavier Rhodes.
Yeah, he's trade bait apparently.
Yep.
Still have Daniil Hunter. Still have Linval Joseph. Yeah, they have plenty of pieces to put together a run to go to the Super Bowl. Just everything, has to click in place. They can't have someone die before the beginning of the season.
Yes, just no
Sorry,
catastrophes.
that
They
had
could-
a lot
no,
to do with their
it
struggles
did.
last year. They can't have someone
Exactly.
check themselves into a mental hospital 3 weeks into the season.
What
who's a
other
starter on
team
your
could
defense.
you say this about?
Yeah.
There
And they
isn't
still had
any.
8 wins. They still had 8 wins.
Yes, man. And they still
But
had 8 wins.
fire Zimmer.
And
Fire Zimmer.
yeah, and now no first place schedule. You're going to be playing teams that aren't as good as the other teams you were playing. I mean, there's still some good teams on the schedule. Don't get me wrong, but the schedule is more favorable. You have a year extra. Well, maybe continuity isn't the right term, but you feel like it feels like we're pointed in the right direction. Last year kind of felt like they kind of threw it all together, didn't it? At the beginning of the
There
season,
were a lot. Yeah, there were a lot, and the expectations for last year were very high. Obviously, too high.
Yes,
The Vikings never do well when their expectations are that high.
they don't. It's true.
They like flying under the radar. People might see them as a contender for the playoffs, and then they do a lot better than people think.
Yeah.
Which
It
was
wouldn't
what?
shock me if they were a sexy
2017.
pick early next year
Yeah.
because
They've
of
already-
all
they've
of those
already
things
been-
you just said.
They've already been picked to go to the Super Bowl next year.
By
I've already written an article that someone picked them to go to the Super Bowl.
Oh,
No, I didn't. No.
I've already written an article.
No.
That's
I've written an article about someone who did. I think it was like NewJersey.com or something like.
Really? That's
They,
they're
they
gonna do
picked
it. Hey, man,
the Vikings to lose to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl,
that'd be a fun Super Bowl.
minus the loss part. And it's in
yeah.
It's in Miami. It's in
That's
Miami.
yeah, man. It's
Vikings got a history of not making it to Miami.
yeah. Well, God, knock on wood again. Let's go through some closing remarks.
Actually,
a new thing
it's
we're gonna
interesting.
have. What?
That guy picked the Vikings to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs and beat the Falcons in the NFC Championship. So If they do that, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, just as long as they beat the Saints and Philadelphia.
This guy's just like playing fire at this point.
Yeah, for real. Just exercise all the demons
Just
at once.
like the Browns
on a
today.
field on a game-winning field goal against
right.
Atlanta at home. It'd be wonderful. It'd be wonderful. So you had this idea for this new bit. We're going to do closing remarks, closing segments.
Yeah.
You got a couple of minutes that you want to talk about certain things. I might have a couple of minutes that I want to talk about certain things.
Hopefully we don't have the same thing.
Yeah, I was going to. You go first, and I have two, so I will.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought about this already. So
I don't have to.
Okay, good. So you go
I'm
first.
going to talk about, lead the show. I'm going to talk about this really incredibly dumb fucking take by fans. And now ESPN's Courtney Cronin is suggesting that the Vikings should trade Xavier Rhodes. That was her bold prediction recently. And I'm like, come on, Courtney, like,
Courtney.
now you're doing this, like, come on, like,
It would be bold.
it would be bold, but it's not something that's ever going to happen because, one, you're going to tell Mike Zimmer, who his favorite position is cornerbacks, that you're going to trade his number one guy. That's not going to happen. Who's going to be number one if you trade Xavier Rhodes? Trey Waynes, who had his first okay season last year. Mike Hughes coming off an ACL tear. Holton Hill, who did well last year, playing against number 3 and number 4 wide receivers. So you're going to throw him and be like, hey, cover Julio Jones, cover Antonio Brown. Good luck. Yeah, it's just not a good idea. They're like, oh, it'll free up cap space. And it won't. No. Xavier Rhodes also has like 3 or 4 years left on his contract. No one is trading for that. He's not a problem in the locker room. If anything, he's good to have in there for the young cornerbacks to help them out with, Mike Zimmer's system to get them adjusted quicker. And he's from Miami. He's got a lot of connections with guys like Dalvin Cook and Mike Hughes and guys like that. So I don't understand wherever this came from. Like, I understand Rhodes he wasn't an all-pro last year and he played kind of average, but kind of average for Xavier Rhodes is still better than anything that they have on the roster right now.
That is exactly it, Adam.
Hampered by injuries last year. That's not an excuse. Whatever, he's a football player, but let's not trade a guy who was an all-pro
a year ago.
2017.
Yes, a year ago. That was 1 year ago. That's the part that bothers me.
And he's not even 30 yet.
No,
I don't think
you
he's
just
30.
signed him to a team-friendly contract this is the worst person to try and trade. Don't. Anyone else, I would
Everson
be fine
Griffin?
with. Not him.
Okay, I can hear that. You want to trade Kyle Rudolph? I can hear that. Laquan Treadwell, obviously. I throughout the thing, I've been seeing this so much, and I was like, sure, why don't we just trade Thielen too? He's got a friendly contract, and got Stephon Diggs. Why don't we just do that too?
No big deal. That's their assets, man. That's what we're looking for.
He's never going to have a higher. He's never going to have a higher trade value. So we might as well get what we can get for him now.
Sell high, Adam. That's the idea. Is you get as much back as possible. Now there's something to be said about the Patriots doing that, but this is not what they would do. This is not that type of a situation. No. This is not that kind of a move.
They also trade guys when they have like a year left on their contract and they know that guy's not going to sign a long-term deal or he's going to want too much. Then they're like, okay, fine, bye.
Or their best days are behind them, and they see them more than you do, and they can recognize that before you can, and they get rid of them before that. That's not this. You're talking about a cornerstone of your franchise right now. I'm totally with you. I can't get down with even thinking about trading him. My rant thing for today is going to be, I'm going to try and keep it cool because I'm also very frustrated by this. Adrian Peterson coming back to Minnesota is the worst idea in the history of ideas. Lest we forget, this is the same guy that basically destroyed that season where he was kind of suspended and all that stuff, has never admitted any kind of wrongdoing or fault. And if you'll remember, he was pissed at how he got treated during that ordeal. That is who you're talking about. You can get that kind of production, the kind of production that he showed last season in Washington. You can get that kind of production for half as much money and for 90% less attitude and stupidity and delusion. And like, it's so much better to not have him on this team anymore. And like you said, when we were discussing it, I wouldn't want them to, but I would be okay if you want to bring him back, sign him one-day contract, he retires, you put his numbers in the... He was great. Don't get me wrong. He was great. But he stopped being great, and the attitude never changed. Yep. This is T.O. on his last contract. This is like... That's what we're talking about, is delusional, I'm better than this. Ocho Cinco going to New England. Like, this. That's what we're looking at here. I'm not trying to throw out a hot take. I'm not trying to predict bad things for Adrian Peterson, but I can almost guarantee you this will be his last season in the NFL, because there's nobody who's going to put up with that kind of delusion about what he's capable of and what role he can have on a team with that kind of production and that kind of ability. And I'm sorry, Adrian Peterson, but like, you're not as good as you used to be, and the attitude ain't working.
Please don't apologize. All right. I like that.
All right. Yeah, man, that was good. For the first time, I'm feeling real good about it. Real good about it. Well, great episode. I feel great that we got to, do this. It was a week off, and it was good to get it out. I
think the Combine's coming up soon, beginning of March.
See you next week. Talk about AAF, bro. We're in.
Yeah.
Did I not tell you this is now an All-American Alliance Football of the Americas League podcast only. So we're going to have to change the name, but...
Valentine's Day is next week. We'll have to talk about that.
Yes, we will. That's true.
Valentine's Day, I'm sorry.
Something. Valentine's Day. Yes.
Yep.
I can't stand when people say it bugs me so much. You're 30 years old and nobody ever told you at Valentine's.
So get your $30 roses and your $20 chocolates while you can.
Totally.
Or just have a wife like mine who's like, let's just go to Shake Shack. I'm like, yes. Last year we went to Hooters.
Ooh, the best kind of Valentine's Day.
Because it was
Hooters, I think.
It was like 50-cent wing Wednesday or whatever.
Can't go wrong.
She was like, "You want to go to Hooters on Valentine's Day?" I'm like, "Yes, I do."
Yes, and I love you, and I'm so glad that we're married.
Yes. Let's just get this clear. Make this clear. This was your idea.
That's right. You cannot bring this up later and act like it was my idea. It was not mine. Exactly. All right, bud. Well, skol, and see you next week.
All right.
Skol.